let's get on to main topic number one. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Jeremie Tshibasu, who writes, according to Variety, Sony is looking to develop a live-action One Punch Man film, and somewhere right now, Ray Aura is celebrating. Venom writers Scott Rosenberg and Jeff Pinker are set to write the script, with Avi and Ari Arad of Arad Productions producing. Of course, they're the same guys who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, John, we've seen in recent years that anime adaptations don't bode well for themselves, especially when they are made to appeal to Western audiences. But One Punch Man is very popular around the world. What say you to this possibly happening? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, One Punch Man, which I got introduced to because my brother-in-law, Ray, who does the graphics on this show, when he's working over here, he just put on the entire thing of it and watched all of it. So I got a sense of it. I'd heard of One Punch Man. I'd seen some YouTube videos of One Punch Man. But anyway, this is the official news that came out. This comes to us. This is from Joseph Krasinski, who writes, Scott Rosenberg and Jeff Pinker are set to write a live-action film adaptation of the worldwide hit Magna series One Punch Man for Sony Pictures. Avi Arad and Ari Arad of Arad Productions are producing the film, hugely popular in both Japan and around the world. One Punch Man follows the story of, I never pronounce this right, Saitama, a superhero who can defeat any opponent with a single punch, but seeks to find a worthy opponent after growing bored by a lack of challenges to his fight against evil. Now that comes from there. Listen, I don't know a lot about One Punch Man. I don't know a lot about anime in general. I've watched a bunch of it, but it's not really my thing in particular, but I've got some friends who love it. I sat and watched some of this stuff that Ray was watching, and I thought its core premise was fascinating. I thought the core premise was fascinating. And that core premise, Rob, is just basically this dude who is just so powerful. He's become, well, they never use the word in the show, but he's depressed. He is so utterly bored because it's literally one punch, he wins every fight. It doesn't matter. He's completely invincible. He's completely invulnerable, and he's actually grown completely bored. Nothing gives him a sense of life. Nothing gets his blood rushing anymore. And actually on that level, I find the core concept really, really fascinating. But Rob, the person who wrote in the question raises a very good point. The North American audience has not responded well, generally speaking, to anime adaptations here. One Punch Man does have a pretty big global audience. I don't know, Rob, you hear about this news. Do you like it? How do you think it's going to do over here? What are your thoughts?
Well, I like One Punch Man. It's a lot of fun to watch. I mean, the whole world it gives us. I mean, he has a cyborg sidekick. I mean, they're like roommates. He fights monsters. I think the problem that a lot of anime adaptations have when they are brought to the West is there is an inherent whimsy in Asian sci-fi and anime that we in the West we're not used to it. And so when you're adapting, and when I say whimsy, I mean, it's like Pacific Rim. Giant monsters fighting giant robots. I mean, this is in my DNA from the time I was a little kid. So you give me a Pacific Rim, I'm Ghibli. I watch Pacific Rim now. I've seen it 100 times, and I get Ghibli every time I watch it. I love it. But there's a lot of people that just don't buy into it. They're like, come on, man, 300-foot tall robots can't exist. And One Punch Man is full of that kind of whimsy that we get in a lot of Japanese science fiction, especially like when you put battleships in space or trains in space, like Matsumoto Leiji would do with Star Blazers or Galaxy Express 999. And I think if they try and take that out, and One Punch Man has that. I mean, think about it. A superhero with literally one punch can take out anyone. Like there's no... Like, what would you do? How would you make a Batman movie if Batman in one punch could take out any of his villains? You know, where's your story? And I think that the story that revolves around One Punch Man it has that kind of whimsy in it. And I just hope if they make the live action version that they don't westernize it too much, because then what makes it fun in the first place might get bled out of it by accident. And I see that happening a lot. and it's a hard thing to do. And I guess just because I've grown up with Japanese sci-fi, I love these kinds of things. It frustrates me when they try and make them have too much of a westernized sensibility. I mean, can you imagine them trying to make, say, an American version of Howl's Moving Castle? I mean, the idea of a castle walking around or moving like that is something that, people be like, wait, what? I mean, they could do it, but it's hard. It's a sensibility issue, and I think that's what frequently gets lost when they try and translate something from the East to the West. It's just a different thing.
I think you bring up an interesting point here too, because we talked a little bit before about Iron Giant, where we said, like, the thing about the idea of a live action Iron Giant is that there's something about the magic of Iron Giant that lays within its medium of animation.
Yes.
There's something that I don't know that translates well. Howl's Moving Castle, for instance, a lot of that whimsy and that magic is the fact that it's in the medium of animation, and I'm not so sure that translates as well. But One Punch Man with a deeper underlying kind of premise like that we talked about here. I think, listen, I'm not often one to jump up and say, yes, translate this anime into a live action. I think there's some potential here. But you're right. They're going to have to be very careful about you do need to do some adaptation to fit it for the Western audience, but you got to make sure in doing that you don't touch the things that make it what it is.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I could see them doing is they do lean they lean heavily into, like, his everyday life. Like, he's not rich, like he doesn't have money. So even though, and he's not considered a top tier hero, at least at first, and so he's got these problems that I could see them accentuating in a westernized version that could be pretty funny.
It could be funny. It could be great, and it could be an utter disaster. We'll have to wait and see. Question here is, guys, what do you make of this whole thing about the possibility of a One Punch Man? Do you think this is something that the average North American movie-going audience could maybe embrace? Do you think it's too far gone? Do you think it'll be a hit? What do you think? Jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.